What's up everyone, and welcome to another Rust electrical tutorial. I'm Gneissish, and today we are going to be talking about small base wiring, but from a different standpoint. We're going to come at this from the idea of how to manage limited power based on your root power inputs that you put on this small base, rather than what your battery's capable of putting out. And so, it doesn't matter what kind of base you're using. I'm using this 2x2 double honeycombed base because this is one of the most common bases used in Rust, but it doesn't matter what you're using, any small base, since nowadays wipe lengths have gotten really short. 1 week is considered, kind of a long wipe at this point, and more commonly, you have 3 to 4, 5 day wipes. So most players are not building huge bases anymore. They are commonly in things like this or things similar to this. And so what we're going to do is we are going to wire this base up. We're going to put some root power on it. We're going to add a battery. We're going to add some lights, a turret, maybe a trap circuit, something like that. But the idea is, instead of coming at it from the battery's ability, we're going to come at it from whatever root power you're putting in, to show you that you can do this the opposite direction than what, sometimes I think people come at this from. So we have this little base here. I've got a standard airlock inside. It's just a standard 2x2 with a core over here. I've left the door off on purpose. I've put a window over here with this, metal shelf to put a battery in. You don't have to do this, it's up to you where you put the battery or batteries, depending on how you build this. But this is one option that works really well. I just like to keep it over here away from the core, and not so in the, right in the entryway right here, where they might try and come at it before they branch out into this, rest of the base. So we're gonna go ahead and start from this idea. Again, this is just how I'm doing it. You can choose how you like to put your batteries any way you like. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and assume that, maybe you found two or purchased, I guess you could have purchased 2 solar panels, or you found 2 solar panels, whatever, but that's what you've got. And so I'm going to go up on my roof here, and I'm going to place these solar panels due north. Now I'm doing that because I know that this server is in the month of May, but depending on what server you're on and how long the wipe has been going, this might be different. I'll link my solar panel video so you can understand how it is what direction these should be depending on how long the wipe is. But when in doubt, if you're not sure or don't care, just one north, one south, if it's going to be longer than a week, will keep you charged. Now, if you're trying to maintain a certain level, and I did 2 forward, I would have to do two facing south if my goal was to always have at least 40, because each one puts out 20. Here we have 20 coming out of this one, 20 coming out of the other one. So keep that in mind. Watch that video if you would like more information on that. So I'm going to go ahead and head inside, and I'm going to get my electrical room going. And I always put my electrical room in the core, because that's the last line of defense. If they get that far, you're hosed anyway. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and place my battery. If you're doing it this way, you want to center yourself on this, find the center of the floor piece that you're standing on, and then place the battery so rotate it forward and place the battery without ducking. If you duck, it won't let you place it. This might take a little bit of effort, because this can be a little difficult, but if you find that sweet spot, you can place a large battery through a window standing on this. And so once you've placed it, if you face it the right direction, you can access these 2 power in, power outs underneath. So the first thing I'm going to do in my electrical room in the core here is I'm going to determine how high my switches have to be so that I don't interfere with box placement when I'm done. And so what I do there is just place a box on this direction, like you would normally, and look at where that box sits on the wall. Find a marking on the wall that helps you identify how tall is that box. Here you can see this band right here, so there's this space here. I'm going to put them in the center of that space so that I don't interfere with this box once I want to place it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place 3 root combiners. You only need 1 for 2 solar panels, obviously, but I'm going to place 3 because what if I want to expand? I might as well have them up here ready to go. So I'm going to start by just running a line out from that root combiner up into this corner and out, and I'll go like that. I use black line whenever I run to the outside of any base, because I don't like to give raiders any hint as to what is where and what may color coding anything. So I'm going to run it to right here, and I'm going to jumper that just through the roof to there, and I'm going to grab this one, go the opposite direction. There we go. Place that there. Run back inside, just do exactly what I did in the opposite direction. that I can get my 40 volts of charging going here. So I'm going to clip that into there, jumper that over there, and there we go. So now we have 40 volts available for our battery. So I'm going to run it from this other direction so I can point something out. Is that this battery, if you look at it, has a charge of nothing, obviously. Charge left is nothing because nothing's hooked up to it, and it has an active usage of 0. Now, normally, just because this is a 100-watt battery, it has a max output of 100, it will give you 100 coming out available. But in order, in all my other videos when I talk about batteries, I talk about the 80% charging efficiency rule, where you have to have enough voltage to keep a battery charged based on its active usage. So a 100 watt battery, if you divide that by 0.8, you get 125. That means if this thing had 100 watts of stuff, it was fully loaded, active usage 100, you would have to have at least 125 volts charging from your root power sources to keep it charged. We don't have that. We have 40. We've got 2 solar panels producing a maximum of 40 volts at the the high points of the day. So most of the day we're getting 40 volts. That's not enough. If you hooked up 100 watts of stuff, that battery is going to die. So what you have to do is, just this trick here is you can use any battery you want. You can use a large battery, but you can determine very easily how much stuff you can hook up to it before you have to add more power to the roof. So just instead of doing 100 divided by 0.8, we can take the root power sources and say 40 times 0.8, and we get 32. So with 2 solar panels, we can use up to 32 watts of this battery before we have to add more power, because it'll start dying if you use anything over 32. So maybe you'd say 30 to be safe, but that's how that works. So I'm going to, from this power in, I'm going to jumper that down here like so, and I'm going to run that over to this corner into here, and I'm going to go run this to the output of my root combiner. I'm going to just jumper it up to here. You don't have to be as careful with wiring as I am. I just like it to look neat. That's just my thing. And I'm going to run that into there. So there we go. We've got our 40 volts from the roof going into our battery, and we can start using it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our power management line. Again, being careful to place your switches not too close to where the door needs to be installed, and above this. In my case, I'm keeping in the middle of this space here to make sure my box will fit later. And I'm going to run the output of this battery right here. I'm going to run that over to the input on that first root combiner, and that's going to start my power management line, where I can start branching off stuff and using it to whatever it is I need to, whatever I like to use. So I can just go up this way, it's fine. And there we go. So now we've got, from our battery, you'll notice it says 100. That doesn't mean we're using that 100. This thing requires a volt, and it's going to send out at least 2. So with just the branch hooked up, if you were to come in here and look, it says an active usage of 2, right? So you'll notice that it's still charging. We've got 2 hours and 56 minutes, and it's climbing. And that's because we haven't overwhelmed that rule that we just calculated of 32 watts maximum usage out of this. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my first one for lights. So let's go ahead and grab a few lights. I like to use the tiles on the roof to center my lights, if that's something you care about. And one in the entryway can be nice when you're coming in when it's dark. And I'm daisy chain these lights together, and it's always a good idea to daisy chain from the core to the farthest point, because as players are raiding your base, they're going to be destroying lights. So you want your lights, if you want them to keep running during a raid, to run from the innermost point, daisy chain to the outermost point. That way, if this was destroyed, it doesn't affect these, but if that was destroyed, it does affect those. And I'm going to go ahead and place a switch on the wall out here, or anywhere really. We'll just put it here for now, I guess. It doesn't matter because they're lights, and so I don't really care if the switch gets broken and the lights don't work, because they're just lights. They're not a defensive feature in any way. So now we've hooked up our lights. I'm going to run the bottom out here and just drop that down into here, and then what I usually do is just put it through right there, run it over to here behind that box, and then just jumper it up to the branch out. So I'm going to run this to the branch out right there. And then I got to add it up. I got 3 lights and 1 switch. So 2, 4, 6, 7 volts is what I need to run all this. Set this to 7. I can test this, turn my lights on, there we go. The last one at the pass-through should be 0, it is. So we've maximized the voltage required for this, and we've got our lights. Great. So let's say the next thing I want to do is I want to add a turret. Maybe I found a turret. I'm going to just expand my power management line. So I'm going to add a branch right here. Go ahead and do some color wires now to keep this easier for the video. And there we go. So now I've got a branch set up for my next thing. And I'm going to set my turret. Maybe I got a turret, found it somewhere, whatever. I'm going to put that right there. And what I'm going to do something a little different. And this is a trick. You don't have to do this. I like to do this, and let me just set this up and I'll show you why. So I'm going to take a small car battery, I guess just a car battery, and I'm going to put that right in here or wherever, somewhere inside the core. And then I'm going to take a switch. This part is optional. You don't actually need to do a switch here if you don't want to. I just like to, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Place that switch in there. I'm going to run the output of this switch. Instead of running this switch, I'll change this back to, well, we'll do orange. Why not? I'm going to switch this. I'm going to send this switch out to the input on this battery, like so. You don't have to do this again, but I'll show you why this is kind of useful. And then I'm going to run the output of that battery over to here. Let's pretend I already put guns in it, whatever. And there we go. So of course, predictably, this thing turns on, even though the switch is off, because I've hooked it up to a battery. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the input of this up here, just like I would. I'm going to run this up to the branch out of this second one. And so normally what you would have done is you would have run the branch out from here. You would have set this to 11 because you need 1 for the switch, 10 for this. Run the output of this switch directly to your turret. And you can do that. You can skip this whole battery thing if you don't like this. But here's the cool thing. Let's say somebody comes and raids your base, and they don't destroy this door, and they see your battery in there, and they're like, I'm gonna just destroy that battery because I'm gonna just take out any defenses that they've got over there. That maybe they decide to do that. What you can do is if you do this, once this is destroyed, you actually get 15 minutes, if this is fully charged, you get 15 minutes of turret time before that dies. So it's kind of like a quick and dirty little secondary backup of, a backup battery just for the turret alone to keep it running for 15 minutes after this battery is destroyed. And so all you have to do is account for that. But you only have to account for what comes out of this branch out, the orange line, into this switch, the output of this to the battery, and what it needs to stay charged, considering the 80% efficiency rule. And so since a battery, it has an active use of 10 of 10. So if you took this battery and said 10 divided by 0.8, you're going to get 12.5. You need at least 13 to keep this thing from dying. So I'm going to set this to 14 so that I account for this switch here, like so. And all you have to do is make sure that that switch stays on so that it's charging this battery. So now you'll notice that the charge left was down to seconds, right? But now we've got that 13 coming in. So now that thing is going to slowly start to charge. And so what I could do is, just to be safe, charge it faster, I could maybe set this to 15 so that I definitely overwhelm the charging efficiency rule. There we go, 16. So this is going to charge up very slowly over time until it gets to the whole 150 rest watt minutes. And then it'll just stay that way until this battery dies, giving you an extra 15 minutes of power. And you only sacrifice, I gave it an extra volt there up here, but I set this to 15. A turret with a switch is 11. So it's only, 4 more volts to do this. It's really worth doing this. And the reason I put this switch here was that if for some reason this got destroyed or I needed to move this or whatever, I could just run this directly to the turret, change that to 11 to set it back to a default. It just keeps the original build that you would normally use on a turret available to you if you use the switch. If you don't care about that, you could just run this directly to the battery, set it to 14 or 15 and be done with it. So the only thing about this is, because this is a max output of 10, you can't put a switch between this and the turret because every switch requires a volt, and so you can't do that. So in order to change this out, add more ammo, you just have to unhook this from this small battery, which is actually fine, because the point is to do this is to set this up right next to the turret somewhere. You can just easily hook it back up once you're done with the wiring tool. So I always do this on small bases, and it has served me well on numerous occasions. All right, so that's that. We've got our turret. Our turret has a backup even. You know, we've accounted for our charging efficiency rule. And if we go back to our battery now, what are we at here? We're at 22 active usage. So we still have 10 more watts available. You know, I might cap it at 30, but whatever, 10 more technical watts available based on the input we have from the roof that we can play with while this battery won't die. So you'll notice it's still charging, 17 minutes, 16 seconds. You know, it's still charging because we have maintained ourselves within that rule we calculated of 32 watts. So the next thing I'm going to do is, you know, hey, maybe we've decided, you know, one thing I like to do is I like to set up little traps in my bases. So maybe I set up something where I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of this door. I'm going to grab a armored door, or even sometimes I'll just use a metal door. And I'm going to do is I'm going to just set this up like this. I'm going to open this up. Let's grab, I think I have a lock. Yeah, I've got a lock. I'm going to put a lock on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock this here, go inside here, shut it. And I'm going to place a door controller up in here. Will be good. And I'm going to pair this to the door. There it goes. Turn green. I'm going to lock this again. You have to unlock them to pair them so that this prevents you from pairing it to the wrong door. I'm also going to put one here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and hide it to the best of my ability. And you can, if you do it carefully, let's see if I can do it here. Depends on, like, if you get the right angle, you can, there we go. See that? You can hide them. Let's see if I can get that to stay there. There we go. And that way, when they're coming in, they might not notice that. You could even try it from this direction. You just got to figure out what the best angle is, but you can. Sometimes if you get on top of stuff, you can really hide these things up in here and get, you know, so that they don't notice when they come in. But we'll just pretend this is good enough. Often, you know, standing on top of a furnace helps. So anyway, we're going to set those up. I'm going to unlock this one, pair this one, and you'll know that it paired. That's another trick, is open the door when you pair it, so it'll shut the door once it's paired. And there we go. So now that one's paired. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a let's see, you know, the idea being that we've got this turret in here, but maybe I even have, let's say I put a shotgun trap right here. You know, maybe I put another shotgun trap right here. Just basically, you know, there's no way to get out of this alive type idea. And I'm going to go ahead and make this into an integrated trap base so that if someone's raiding me, they're going to get, you know, trapped mid-raid before they get into this space here. So I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, we'll go ahead and do the electrical part first. So obviously here we have our power management. We need to add I guess a node, we could call it, to this line here for our power management, because we got a new thing coming. So because I want to add this trap base, I'm going to go ahead and daisy chain the third branch off of the second. So now here we continue our thing here. And I'm going to now add a memory cell because that's something I need. And we might as well just wire up the memory cell. Maybe I can put it right there. That's fine. Put that memory cell there. And I'm going to run the whatever door I want open, remember, because the default is the inverted output. Let's go ahead and just run this in light blue just so we can keep track of things here. I'm going to run this along my line here. Go ahead and just jumper it all the way over to here. But I'm not going to hook it up to that one. I want to hook it up to this one because I want this door to stay open, as if when they raid in, they're going to say, oh, it left their door open, right? So the idea is to trick them into coming in here. They're going to think this door got left open, right? But that won't be the case. So that'll be our first one. And then I'll run I guess we could do yellow, the trap door or the kill door. I don't know how you want to say it. I'm going to run that one to this one here because this is the one I want to open once it's triggered. So there we go. We've got that. The next thing we're going to need is we're going to need a laser. And so I'm going to preemptively place 3 of these, but I'm only going to place 1 to start. I'm going to do that over here. I've already got a door over there, so I'm not at risk of doing anything wrong there. And I'm going to place a laser right here. Maybe I'll do it yeah, right about here, because we figure this is going to be here. I want the laser to be to the left of that hole, so maybe I'll place the laser. Let's see if we can get it right about. Let me just eyeball that again. You can use these to block the laser, so assuming they don't destroy something, that is of course the risk here. Place the laser right about here, and then I'm going to test it by taking the power in. I'm just going to like jumper that over to, well, I guess I don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. We'll trust that we did it right. So I'm going to hide this wiring the best I can by just jumpering it down and running it into here, because I want to keep that stuff as you know, as out of the way as possible. And believe it or not, this might seem crazy. This doesn't work. I do this all the time, and you would be surprised how often this works. So I'm going to run this. The laser's input, of course, is going to need a branch, which I forgot to do. So let's just fix that. You actually need a power source for this. So I'm going to run this branch out to that laser. You have to power the laser independently. There's a ton of ways to do this. This is just an easy way to do it, just to run off its own branch and just use the branch as a continued on. Because it needs 2 volts, one to power it and one to pass, a branch out is actually pretty perfect. So there we go. That's what I should have done. And I'm going to daisy chain the power out of this branch over here over to this branch over here, because I just need power to run out of that laser. This branch out, we'll do this in purple, I guess, is going to run over to the input on our memory cell. That only needs to have 2 volts because you need 1 to power and 1 to pass, and since it doesn't split, it only passes or switches to the other output. You can see my memory cell video for more information on that. That's all you need. So this actually is everything you need for the memory cell circuit minus the reset button. So I've got that set up. I'm going to run the output. We need to set the laser. So you can see the laser is, you know, here. You can see it right there. We're going to hide that with a furnace. And so I'm going to run this. Oh, we don't want to use purple. Never use anything that is obvious or, you know, is going to attract attention. Do your best to hide it. You can use rugs, bear rugs, whatever. Just use stuff to hide it. I'm going to run that over to here, and I'm going to run that up and into the. You need to set it to the set input because we want the laser to switch it to this output. So I'm going to I'll just go up here like this, I guess, and well, we'll go all the way up and over like this. We'll keep it neat. Come down like I was doing before. I'm going to run this into the set input, which is this top input up here. So if you get closer, you can get it to set. There we go. And then the last thing we need to do is set a reset of some kind. I'm going to use a button to reset it. And I'm going to go ahead and just set the button. Yeah, probably. Let's see if I can get it to sit right there. That would probably block a door, to be honest with you. So I'm going to put it right here just for now. It depends on how you want to do this. But if they got this far and these didn't kill them, this isn't really going to matter anyway. So I'm going to set it there, and I'm going to run the output of that button down into here, just like I was doing before. Across here, up to this line up there, and I'm going to run that to the reset input, which is the second one here, right there. I'm going to run that into there, like so. So now we're all set to reset it. And then the last thing I'm going to do is come out here, and I'm going to see if I can hide that laser. So it depends on... Perfect. Oh, wait, I didn't. Nope, not yet. Of course, you would pick this up. See how I just set that off? You can angle it just like you're a bad placement. Let's see, did that do it? Nope, not quite. So you have to keep playing with this. Sometimes this can be a little bit of a pain. I just break them because it doesn't matter to me. Let's see, maybe it was like that. That one's not working. You might need to just do it this way. Let's see. There we go. So that blocked it. So you got to find, there's this point on these things that you have to find where you can block it, and then you can place another one over here so that the raiders can't see it when they're coming in. There's no laser here. If you do it perfectly, you can get 3 of these down. Let's see, I might have ruined that. Yeah, I ruined that. That's all right. So we've got our, at least 2 there, a third one over there. We've got our laser hidden back there that you can't see when you're coming in this way. And, you know, the trap has set because I have tripped it. So when you're here as a player, the base owner, you can just, once the trap is set off, you can shut everything and run in and out of your base as you choose. And it's not going to do anything because it was set by the trap. So, but if you're going to be logging off, what you would do is, and I'll show you what it would look like here. If I shut this and do everything, if I were to press this button, it's going to open the door out there. We can go look at that. And it has closed. It would have closed this door if it was open. So if a raider comes in, this door is already open. They blow through this door. They walk in. It's going to open that, shut that. They're going to get killed by those almost immediately. And then they're trapped in here with all their raid equipment that you have now grabbed from them. So while you're using the base, you can just leave it as is. So let's go check we've got that set up. We are at 26. So we only have 2 solar panels. We have 3 lights, a turret, a 15-minute backup for our turret that's continuing to charge. We have a trap base set up inside of our base, which, by the way, you could use a pressure plate in here if you want. If you don't want to do the whole laser thing, that's another option, obviously. And then at this point, you know, I might just stop. I mean, that's 2 solar panels. We're using a large battery just because it fits in this thing, but you wouldn't even need anything more than either a few small batteries or, you know, a medium battery. And at this point, I can just start finishing out the base. And so if I wanted to, you know, now that I've done this, you know, I've got these set up in this way. You know, we're not even going to use these other root combiners, but, you know, I'll leave them there just in case, you know, things go well, and maybe I want to expand a little later, put some more turrets in maybe. So I'm just going to do exactly what you would do normally. I'm going to find that sweet spot and get the box set up. Where is that? There we go. Okay. Boy, sometimes I struggle with this. There we go. There we go. Sometimes you have to duck because the switches will hold you out when you're not ducked. So then I can do this, take this box over here, place it. You can see we've got our switches all set up there, and they're not blocking our boxes. You can continue to use this base as you want, whatever. And then if I did everything correctly, we'll see if those boxes are going to block. Nope, we can set our door there. Grab an extra lock here, put that on there. So we've got our door. You know, what you can do for this switch, if you needed to access that switch, what I always do is just get in here, close the door, use the switch, open the door, there you go. Or if you plan for it, you can put it up higher and use these little things here to access it through. You know, you can put it back there so you can see it through that. It's another option. So there we have that. And there you go. And then you can continue on. You can add your boxes in here, put your, you know, I guess we can just do it. Let's see, we'll grab, what is it? I usually use, if you get it, obviously it depends on your how much you have, but I will put the brazier in. You can put that on the inside if you want. It doesn't matter, however you want to do it. Throw this in here, and there you go. So you've got your thing is protected in there. And then start filling in boxes, right? So just fill in the boxes, and, you know, sometimes you can just, you know, get all this put together pretty easily, put your boxes in, finish out your base, whatever, you get the idea. And so that, again, that's it. You know, we set up two of those, and instead of two of these solar panels, and instead of coming at this from, well, we have a 100-watt battery, so let's get 100 watts of stuff and put 7 solar panels up here. You know, I just tossed down 2 solar panels and figured out what I could do with it by determining what those solar panels can power rather than what the battery can power. So even though I have a 100-watt battery, I'm only using, you know, what was it? Is it 22? Is that what it was? I can't remember. Yeah, 26 active usage. So it's going to continue to charge, and to the point where it's fully charged, and we'll have a really long charge left, right? So because I'm only using a quarter of the battery, it's not going to die in 4 hours. It's going to be much more than that. So, you know, that's the cool thing about this is, you know, this has a long time to run if someone destroys those. And then even once that dies, if during a raid they take that out, you know, your turret has this inline backup battery that'll give it 15 more minutes of punch before someone is done. And then finally, you know, let's say everything's done, you've got everything set up, you know, you're going to log off for the night, remembering that lasers don't care who they're looking at. You would shut this door, hit this button. Now you've set your trap. You can log out. A player comes in like this. Maybe they blow open this door. They blow open this door. They realize you left this open. They walk in. They get killed, locked in, you know, and so forth. So anyway, that, folks, is about all I've got. I hope this was informative for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. Otherwise, you can get me on my Discord. See you later.